that those vile things are in opposition to the character of God. That's not that's not an indictment against the Bible in any kind of way.
Well, but to my point about the she-bears, it was actually promoting that is what God sent for Elisha, the prophet Elisha, to take care of these kids who were talking smack. I don't see how that's not promoting obscene violence.
Hold on a second. Okay, I changed my, can you hear me? I changed my key. I'm going to press the space board. I don't like the middle mouse button on my computer, my mouse anyway. What was it you said? Okay, so the she-bears, okay. Well, then again, let's consider for a second what was going on there. Elijah is a prophet of God. And now consider also who it was that was coming up against Elijah and mocking him and ridiculing the prophet of God. It was children, for crying out loud. Kids. Now, we see this same kind of thing happening today. I know of a video on YouTube of Palestinian girls, all of them between the ages of 9 and, say, 13. The oldest one might be 14 years old. And they're all screaming bloody murder, foaming at the mouth just about, saying, give us guns, we'll go shoot every Jew in sight. I mean, that's pretty vile. Okay, so that's the kind of mindset these children had when they were walking along behind Elijah, who's just going along doing his business, and they're following along behind him, mocking him. Go up, you old baldy, you old bastard, God-fearing man. You know, screw you and your God. This is the kind of thing that they're doing. These children that hate God. They hate God. And they hate his prophet because the prophet speaks for God. I think God is perfectly just to do what he wishes with anybody who does that. An atheist is not going to see it that way. They're going to say, oh yeah, God killed a kid. Well, of course God killed a kid. He would kill you. He would kill me. He would kill anybody, and he's righteous to do it because he's perfect. He's the source of good. And if somebody wants to walk around chasing a prophet of God who speaks on behalf of God, who is morally perfect, and mock him and slight him and utter vain and filthy things about him, God is perfectly just to take their life.
Well, but yeah, that may be the case, but that's a different topic. We're talking about the nature of what is and what isn't vile, or degrees of vile. Now, if I found myself in a room with two doors, behind door number one, I opened it, and people were in there just talking about anal sex, I might turn around and go check out what's behind door number two. But the anal sex talk seems less vile to me than a room where 42 children are being eviscerated. Hopefully we can agree that when it comes to vile and the nature of what's vile, that it is more vile to witness 42 children being slaughtered for any reason. You know, let's just say that these 42 children were just murderers and rapists or something. It's still more vile to see that than to listen to anal sex talk. So what I want to be clear, I'm not saying that religious people take vile to the next level, or non-religious people are just less vile. I'm not making that point. I'm making the point that vile, or whatever virility, or whatever the word is, can be found in both sides, right? That it's not the case that religious people are just walking around not being vile, right? We're all human beings, and human beings are vile.
Well, again, context is the important thing. The scriptures are talking about, in the case that you bring up, it's talking about a prophet of God and giving a demonstration, showing an example of how the mindset of people who hate God, how they behave, and the things they might say and do.
Well, hold on.
That context is not present with
Just
being in a chat room and then having an atheist constantly bring up genitalia.
But just real quick, in the scenario I laid out, though, which room would you rather be in? This isn't a gotcha. it's not a gotcha, right? But which room do you think you would prefer being in if you had to be in one or the other room? Anal talk or children being ripped to death by a bear?
Okay, it's a false attempt to try to paint the situation in the wrong light.
No,
I don't.
it's not a
Yeah,
gotcha.
I think it is. Yeah, I think
It's not
I
a
think
gotcha.
that's false. It's a false attempt to paint the situation as equivocal on both ends, and
No. All I'm trying to do, Nev, is to get you to acknowledge that when you read the Bible, you will encounter vileness. You will encounter that.
I've already acknowledged that. The context
Right.
is important. You're ignoring the context
No,
and
no,
simply
no.
pointing out that there's vileness here and vileness there. Therefore, they're both equal. That's not true. The context of what's happening in Scripture is a whole other world of what's happening going on. Okay,
I
then
agree there's
then people
context.
being in a than people being in a chat room and somebody just randomly bringing up feces and genitalia.
No, I agree there is context, and context is important. I'm just saying, if we were to make a movie out of the Bible, and the Bible is a recollection of the state of mind of the person who wrote it, right? Regardless if it was being brought down by God or not. If we were to make a movie about the Bible from start to finish, all the way from the Old to the New Testament, I mean, the rating on that movie would be at least NC-17, at least. And the
It'd be X-rated.
collection of the state of the mind people were in when they wrote it.
No, wrong. It's not about the state of mind of anything. It's about a story about what happened between important men in God's relationship between man and God and events that took place in those people's lives and how they relate to the relationship between man and God. The context is a world away. That's not anywhere near the context of people gathering in a chat room to talk and somebody just randomly brings up anuses and feces or penises and testicles. It's not at all the same context. I think you're trying to make an equivocation. It's just not there.
No, I think you just got your defenses of, and you don't want to be charitable.
No, there's no
Like I said,
charitableness
I'm not
available.
trying to gotcha here. This isn't a gotcha. Let me ask you this question, see if we can get somewhere with this question. If you and I were to make the movie The Bible, start to finish, what rating would you give The Bible?
I've already told you it would probably be beyond that. It would be X-rated. But that's not to say that doesn't make a case of any kind that the Bible is vile. The Bible possesses discussion of things that are
Sure.
vile. That doesn't convey that the mindset of the one who gave the knowledge is a vile person.
Yes,
Okay.
there are areas of the Bible that will be vile, and then there will be good areas of the Bible, like the Sermon on the Mount, right? I would agree that would be a good part of the movie, right? A nice, heartfelt discussion of Jesus, talking about some stuff that would be good. But you also have to be charitable to atheist discussions. We don't look like there's a bunch of atheists in here, and non-believers in here, and we're not talking about anuses, right? There are times that we would, if we were to make a movie of the life of the average atheist chat room, sure, there would be times when we would say, hey, we're going to have to make this movie at least rated R. But then there are going to be times like this where there's no rated R activity going on and we're just having a discussion. So you have to be charitable on both sides here, Neff.
It's just not working. Besides the things that the Bible discusses of this nature, it's not talking about its own mindset. It's not talking about the mindset of the one who inspired the words, the word of God, or God himself. It's talking about the mindset of those people that it's discussing. The people mocking the prophet Elijah, the things that they said and how they mocked God and mocked Elijah was their mindset, not the one who penned the book.
You're not being
charitable.
charitable.
So no, there's no need for me to be here.
Right,
You're making
exactly.
a false equivocation.
No, I'm not.
But there's a very great difference between
You're wrong.
people. See, the Bible doesn't do this. You won't find anywhere in the Bible, talking about, and then Dan put away his sword.
You missed my point.
No, let me finish, please. You won't find anything in the Bible like, and Dan put away his sword and then sat down to eat with them. And one of them said, "We shall journey tomorrow
Sure,
to
I
the
know, I
grove."
get that.
Hold on. We'll journey tomorrow to the grove where we were commanded by the Lord to seek out whether they're hidden there. Oh, by the way, that's a fat cock
You're
you got.
missing my point,
And
Neff.
man, that lentils you make looks like spooge to me. See,
Neff,
this
you're
is not what
missing
we
my
find
point.
in the Bible, sport. You're making a false
Neff,
equivocation.
Neff, come on, man. Jesus, I'm not. You're missing the point, right? You want to highlight one aspect of a type of discussion that you may encounter in a chat filled with atheists. And I get that. And I'm not saying you're wrong on that. What I'm saying you're wrong about is using that to characterize atheist discussion.
No, I'm not. You tried to slander the Bible with the same kind of morality.
How?
And
How
what
did I
I'm
slander
talking
the
about,
Bible?
and it failed.
Hold on. Remember I said interruptions are to correct shit. You're accusing me of slandering the Bible. In what way did I slander the Bible?
Well, by trying to claim that it has the author of it had the same mindset as the one who comes into a chat room and people and
No,
somebody
that's
just
false. I
randomly
did not
brings
make
up
that
some
equivocation.
kind of wrong,
That's false,
vile
Neff.
thing.
Neff, that's false. I did
No,
not make that equivocation.
it sounds like it to me. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I'm telling you right now, I did not make that equivocation. I promise you, I was not making that equivocation.
Well, whatever you were
I thought I
doing,
was.
whatever you were doing, the argument is a failure in my book.
The
I
only
don't
thing
see
that
it.
I was doing, Neff, which you've already agreed to, is that religious people can be and often are just as vulgar and vile as anyone else on the planet.
But you know what? Where's the context involved in what you said, though? See, that's the thing. You leave out all context. Right?
You're leaving out all context when you characterize atheists discuss only anal sex.
No, I don't say atheists discuss only anal sex. Now you strawman me. I never said any such thing as that.
That's why I said you have to be charitable in how you're characterizing. I agree that you will encounter the topic of anal sex in chat rooms like this with atheists, but Neff, you will find the same exact thing in rooms filled with Christians.
No, the difference is it just seems so random when it comes to atheists. People, I joined this chat room, okay, and the first thing we heard out of somebody's mouth was anuses and genitalia. So
but
what does it
you're
got
not
to do
being
with the
charitable,
discussion?
are you?
What does that have to do with the discussion?
What was the context? What was the context? Remember
right,
context?
no, there was no context.
No, the context, Neff, and let me explain the context. The context was we stopped talking about that for you. That's what we did. We stopped that conversation. We shut that down because you joined. We gave you fair consideration and understood that you wouldn't appreciate it, and we stopped talking about it. So the context was only to say that, hey, when there are no theists around, we talk about dumb shit. But when there are theists around, we would rather focus on that. So you're being uncharitable.
No, I'm not. What I explained, and you apparently didn't pay attention to, is the fact that what I've said was I can be in a chat room, and many times I've noticed that be in a chat room, a debate room with atheists, and they bring up in the middle of a conversation about something completely different, just some intellectual subject, be talking about morality, history, the Bible, or whatever, and here it comes. Here comes the person on the microphone, the atheist, randomly talking about genitalia and feces. And it's not related whatsoever to the context of the conversation. Okay, so that was what I said. You're ignoring that, and you're trying to misrepresent the whole thing.
No, I'm not.
Yes,
you're
you
just being uncharitable. You want to paint
No.
atheists as like these vile people, and I get that. Now, if you're a young Earth creationist, you're a bit Bible basher, you have to demonize us. I get it, and I'm not going to carry on the conversation anymore because we're not getting anywhere. You just want to bash atheists and look down upon us. I don't want to participate or give you a platform.
I don't. So I just heard
the conversation. I'm bowing out.
I just heard random garbage like that when I first came in the room, and I pointed out.
No, you did.
Did I hear that kind of thing?
You're lying.
And did I hear that kind of thing
frequently
and randomly coming from atheists whenever I enter rooms.
Neff, you're
and
lying.
It's not related to the context of the discussion going
Neff,
You
you are
That's what I
currently
said.
lying. You did not hear any anal talk when you
Let-
came into this room.
Let me make it clear what I did say, okay, so you'll understand. I'll repeat for you what I said. What I said was that when I enter chat rooms and I'm in a chat room having a discussion with the people, and some of them are atheists, it's not uncommon for an atheist to randomly throw out something about feces or anuses or genitalia. That's what I said.
Excuse
Okay?
me.
That's a
but
lie.
It doesn't, it's not, I'm not using what happened in this room as just a perfect example
You did,
of
though,
what I'm talking
earlier.
about. What I'm talking about is what I say, not what you try to make me say. And what I say is frequently when I enter a chat room and I'm in a chat room and people are having a discussion about one particular thing, randomly, atheists love to pull up stuff like this. Has nothing to do with the conversation, and it's the atheists that do
You're
this.
just repeating.
That's my point. Okay,
Okay.
and that is a fact that does happen, and it does
It
happen
doesn't sound true
frequently.
to me.
You're repeating
It
yourself.
does.
Let
I-
Snooze go.
It does
I-
happen frequently.
I'm going to
My
speak
point
now.
is
I'm
true.
speaking now. We heard you now. What I'm saying is I take umbrage with your description of it being random. You weren't here for what we were talking about before you were
Amen,
here.
sister.
So you don't even know what it was all about, but you're calling it random and weird and unnecessary. And it actually did have a point, and we were in a discussion. And yeah, so you're just wrong right off the bat.
And so you're ignoring everything that I just got through telling you.
I
No,
think what
I'll
she's
say it one
saying
more
no,
time.
is that
This will be about the fifth time that I said, I wish you
Nephew,
guys
I
actually
think
tried
that you were probably just
to be honest
ignorant of
about
what the
what I'm
context
saying.
was.
Okay? What I'm
Your
actually saying is
characterization
what I
of the
said.
context of there
You're
not being
listening to what
context
I said.
Hang on,
is
Neff.
just
Hold on. You're
is
not
just
listening.
you
Wait,
Let
saying
I
other
was
people
speaking.
talk, Neff.
unaware.
I was already speaking.
No, Neff,
What-
but you've
what
been
I'm-
speaking a
what
lot,
I'm
and
trying
JJ
to-
wants to weigh in. Let JJ.
Neff,
You'll get your turn on mic.
rather than you just repeat what you just said again, like for the fourth time, it sounds to me like you're just unaware of what the context might be when you characterize it as being random or that there wasn't any context.
Right.
Okay, that's not the case. I'll say it again.
What was the
How do
context?
you
what
know
I
that's not the case?
What I would appreciate is if you try to understand what I'm saying, because you guys are so determined to try to twist what something
Just
else.
explain the context.
This is what I'm trying to say. I'll say it one more time. I can be in a chat room with atheists, and we'll be
Why would you
talking
repeat
about
yourself?
some
Yeah,
subject.
Neff,
okay?
we heard
Hold on.
you.
And see, this is why rooms run by atheists are no good.
Let's
guys,
move forward.
If you
We
won't,
heard that.
if you won't stop misrepresenting what I say,
We're not
and say-
misrepresenting. We
and
just don't want
say
to
that
hear
it's
you repeat the same
only
thing.
about the example of what I said when I first came in, what I first heard. That's not what I'm pointing out.
Okay, we heard
Okay.
you then. We
Okay.
heard you
Okay.
several
And-
times. We heard you.
And that does happen frequently.
We heard
Okay?
you.
All right.
Now,
I don't think that's true. I think
Now-
that's a straw man.
That-
here's
happens
the
frequently.
question. Here's the question, Neff. What was the context of the topic of anal that we were having before you came in that we
There you go.
stopped having when you came in? What was the context?
It's not about the conversation that was going on when I entered this room. My observation was not about that instance. It was about instances where I'll say it again. How many times do I say? Can you understand what I'm saying? Are you listening?
Well, Neff,
When
what
I am-
heard
I'll say it
you
again,
asked me a
okay.
question. Can I
When
answer?
I say it, when I
You asked me a
say
question. Can I answer?
what I said was
Neff.
when I am in a room and the conversation is going
Oh
on
my
about
God.
some particular subject, it's frequent that an atheist, in the middle of an intellectual
Neff,
conversation
please calm
about
down.
something,
Please calm
that
down.
an atheist will throw up some kind of a
Neff,
conversation like
Neff,
that.
please calm down.
And
Oh,
it's
okay,
random,
that's your
And
experience.
it's not
Fine.
related to the subject. That's what I
Fine,
was pointing out.
fine. Stop going to those rooms then. Please stop going
I
to
don't
those
think
rooms.
that's true either.
It doesn't
I think-
matter. It doesn't matter because
I think that
anything we
he's saying
do,
that it's unrelated.
he's just going to
is
repeat
something-
himself.
Right, but
He's
I
just-
think that. I mean, all he's saying though is that he doesn't see the relationship.
Fine. I don't care about Neff's personal experience of other chat rooms.
Well,
He's
I'll
already
give you-
stated it.
talking about, but
I'll give you an example.
It does point out that you just may be unaware of what the relation is to the conversation,
No, you just refuse to
your
accept that.
ignorance or your ignorance of the context.
No, you just refuse to accept that it does happen, and people observing.
No one,
I'll give you,
no
I'll
one
give you
said
an
that.
example.
We
I'll give
agreed
you
that
an
it
example.
happens.
Okay, fine, but I'm going to give him an example. An example is for about 30 minutes, I was, an hour actually, I was in a chat room.
We got
in
it.
Pal Talk, okay? And while in that conversation, an atheist gets on the mic and she says, you guys and your God theory and stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Because, see, I know you guys play with your cocks a lot. I know you guys love to. See, that's what I'm saying. See,
we got it.
Doesn't relate to
the part of we got it, don't you get?
And that does happen frequently.
Got it. We don't need you to repeat it and give multiple examples of shit we get. We get it.
Well, stop pretending it doesn't happen frequently.
When no one said it.
Even that example, though, I don't know why you're complaining about that being an example of something being random or out of context.
But still, no one in this chat room is telling you that doesn't happen, Neff. No one is saying that. No one told you were wrong, that you hear random dick and fart jokes and topics in other chat rooms. No one said anything about that. So quit harping on it, man. This is boring. You're just repeating your point over and over and over and ignoring everything that everyone else is saying to you.
Well, what happened is you tried to misrepresent it and failed. That's all.
No, I didn't misrepresent anything.
Well, there you go. Still trying.
No, you were misrepresenting what we were talking about before you even fucking got here.
No, now JJ said he doesn't believe it's even random. Well, how is it not random when we're having a conversation about the existence of God and somebody gets on the mic and immediately starts talking about the Christians in the room playing with their penises and
who said that?
And such things.
Jesus Christ. What the fuck relevance does that have to do with this chat room?
That's just an example of what I was saying.
Well, fuck that
depends
guy.
on the context of the
try to make
conversation.
it look like
yeah,
doesn't happen.
There's no way for us to make that assessment. Whether you're 100% factful and truthful or you're 100% full of shit right now, there is no way we can make any assessment of a chat that you had with someone else on some other fucking chat platform.
It's not about an assessment of a chat. I made an observation that happens frequently out of nowhere, randomly, coming from atheists, and that's 100%.
But it's not controversial, right? You're just repeating it over and over and over and over and over.
No, I said that I think the reason that happens is because of the mindset of atheists, because they're stuck in thinking about their flesh because they're mindless about.
But that's not going on right now, right here.
I didn't say it was. I never said that either.
But no. But listen,
misrepresent me in another way.
Hold on. You're talking about the quote unquote mindset of atheists. Well, there are several atheists in this room who are not expressing that mindset. So what the fuck relevance does it have to do with anything?
I didn't say you are, did I? I just made an observation.
Let's chat about what's going on in this room and not stuff from other rooms that none of us can actually really talk about. Right? Like, I mean, it's no different than me coming up with some random, I was standing in line and I heard this Christian just say some of the most vile shit, right? And then using that as like the hinge point of everything that I'm going to say about Christians. That's not fair.
Well, aren't we here to discuss
that way?
Aren't we here to discuss worldviews, Christianity, atheism,
sure,
and everything? Okay, so I made an observation about atheists, and you think that's completely irrelevant? No, it's not.
No, because you're overgeneralizing.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I didn't say most atheists do this.
Hold on.
You're trying to misrepresent what I say.
I'm asking you.
All you ever do is try to misrepresent.
I am now using an ability to where when I'm talking, it's very difficult to hear you because you couldn't hear me say "hold on." I'm saying "hold on." When you are talking about dick and fart jokes and saying that this is characteristic of atheists, you are ignoring the multitude of intellectual atheists who do not talk that way, who do not use this in their rhetoric, who do not write books that incorporate dick and fart vulgarity, right? You are ignoring the hundreds of atheist authors out there that do not participate in this to talk about the basest among us. And no one in this room is denying that there are vulgar, vile, despicable atheists, man. Right? But it's an overgeneralization to say that this is the atheist mindset. No, the fuck it's not.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I think the reason that some atheists do this is because their mindset of atheism is what permits them to do it. See, that's my observation.
That's
You disagree
just
with me about
false,
it.
man.
That's fine. Yeah, we're going to have disagreement, all right, because I'm a Christian and you're not.
Yeah, but it's demonstrably false.
My
No, it's
my
not.
Christian fiance is far more perverted and vulgar than I am. Far more.
Is she
He
doing that in
always
chat rooms?
No, but it doesn't
Okay,
matter.
then, point
It's the
made.
you're talking about mindset. So quit moving the goal to being just in chat rooms. You're talking about the atheist mindset. You've said this multiple times now.
Well, my mindset doesn't permit me to do that randomly in chat rooms. I just abstain from that if possible.
Do you
But
want a
I don't
cookie?
see that restraint. I don't restrain that restraint
Do
amongst
you want
the
a
atheist
cookie?
kind. So you don't like my
Your
observation.
mindset does what?
He's saying his mindset doesn't permit him to just randomly be vulgar and talk about dick and fart jokes and shit like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, so I would say that vulgarity is probably completely subjective anyway.
Right. I tried to use this angle before and he completely ignored it.
I'm curious what he thinks makes something vulgar.
Well, hang on, before we go there, so as I pointed out, there's this, what we're talking about is the difference between the mindset and what somebody communicates, and in a reduced way, because you can communicate things non-verbally, right? And while it's true that communication does represent differences in mindset will have differences, sure, but it doesn't follow that somebody can't withhold something that they have in their mind that they know others will negatively react to, right? And then there's the other issues, is he's talking about the conscious mind, because if a lot of our what goes on in our mind is mostly unconscious, all he's aware of is his conscious mind, right, by definition. So there could be all kinds of vulgarity going on unconsciously that he's not aware of. And if we even ignore that, there's the issue of why does this really matter? What is the domain of moral judgment application? Why shouldn't it be unconscious stuff, right? And also, what about how it affects behavior? And I think what's going on here is we just have, well, in part, me and probably most people in here who are not Christian and Neph have completely different assumptions about how psychology works.
Okay, I didn't hear anything that I think really warranted a response.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't, because
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
I mean, well, okay, I guess you're right too, Jay, but you know what I'm saying? In a manner of speaking, I did respond to what you said. If you're listening, I actually said that just because you don't express, it's possible that you have all kinds of stuff in your mind that you're not expressing.
So maybe my worldview prevents me from verbalizing it.
Yeah, but you were talking about mindset. You weren't talking about
My
communication.
mindset, it may be controlled to some degree by my worldview, and maybe there's a constraint there that's not present in some atheists.
I would say mindset and worldview are
Okay, sure, but that
definitely linked, if not synonymous.
yeah, there's definitely. But the thing is that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about whether it's stuff in your mind, patterns in your mind prevent you communicating things in certain ways. We're talking about the mindset. I thought we were talking about what's in your mind, not what's in your mind that prevents you from communicating stuff.
No, we were talking about what comes out of somebody's mouth.
Yeah, but then my point was, why does that matter if what's in your mind is utterly vile and filthy, and you're preventing it from coming out?
Well, maybe that's an interesting thing. Maybe there's something very important going on.
Maybe people are being more honest.
Maybe it's because their worldview is such that they feel it's inappropriate for those kinds of things to come from their mouth, which I think is exactly the
Yeah,
Right. I think the context is being ignored, though. In the chat room where people are discussing their worldviews, they tend to say and do things that are in comport with their worldview. I mean, they're actually putting their worldview forward, and in that environment, we do see that it's far more rare for somebody who have a Christian worldview to use the comments like that, especially so random and not related to the subject at all, just off the cuff, than it is to see atheists do it. My comment was that I see it frequently from atheists. I don't see it from Christians. Occasionally I see bad language, coming from Christians. They'll use cuss words sometimes. I don't think that's quite the same thing as talking about using explicit language to speak about, sexual, activity, body parts and feces and excrement. That seems to me something completely different. And that's the point.
It's not random, though.
I don't understand what makes that language bad.
Well, yeah, we could get into that because
this is all just
I find a lot of what Christians say vile, right? And they don't think there's anything wrong with it. So we have a moral disagreement there, right? But even if you ignore that and you look at what might be considered as vile on common ground, whatever that is, right? You've got another problem that's just pretty obvious, which I've forgotten. Damn it, might just slipped my mind.
While you're
wrong with my mind, JJ, go ahead.
While you're retrieving your thought,
terrible, right? I was just drumming up, and there's nothing behind the curtain.
So JJ calls it random, and I hear what the topic is going. I think Neff's point might be this in part.
I didn't call anything random.
Well, okay, you said vulgarity is subjective. Maybe that's what you said.
I did say that.
Okay, maybe it is, right? Here's what Neff might be getting at, right? Some of the language which you think is subjectively vulgar, you wouldn't utter that in front of a judge, or you wouldn't say to a cop or a policeman or maybe even your parent. But in a chat room, who gives a shit, right? All respect is lost for fellow chatters that you would have or you do show towards other people in society. Why? Why are the people in here any lesser or less due of that respect?
That's a fair point. That's a good point. And I think that does fit quite well into what I was pointing out.
Well, I think there's an assumption being made there about what one might say in front of a judge or a cop or your parents.
So here's just very quickly. So as an example, I often say this, and some people laugh at this. I did in the song Palpit. I say, "You suck X cock," right? And by that I mean where they're obsessed with X, right? So if I say you suck IQ cock, it means they're obsessed with IQ, or you suck whatever cock. Now, I guess that Nephilim would take that as random, right? But it's not. It's using a metaphor. Okay, it's a sexual metaphor for obsession, right? Which I think entertains some people, right? You might find it vile and disgusting. I think it's fucking funny, personally.
Yeah, and there you go. There's the difference in mindset. See, I don't. I see it as vile, and you don't.
Why?
Well, why? It's a metaphor.
Right, but it's subjective, though. Like a lot of the stuff
Obviously.
that I hear Christians say that they think is nice is vile and disgusting to me. So what point are we really making?
The difference is just it's a basis in moral thinking that exists between Christians and atheists. And maybe you can't get it. Maybe you're pretending not to get it. Maybe you actually can't get it.
No,
I don't know.
Hear what I just said.
All I can do is point out that difference and say,
no difference that you're pointing
there
out.
it is. That is exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
Well, I think the difference is being acknowledged. What's not being acknowledged is explaining why it's different.
Right. What was being said, Neff, is you can't say that you're doing it less when I'm telling you a lot of the things that you're saying is vile to me. It's subjective, right? You don't find it vile, sure. Right? When you talk amongst your friends, none of that stuff's vile. But when you take that into context of different people and what they think is vile, well, it's freaking vile, right? So we're not making a point. We're just saying, I don't like that art.
Now
or
you're
that music is bad, right?
No,
That's
you're-
all we're saying.
No, you're actually ignoring the true point of it. And the true point of it is that it's not just that there's something unsavory said. It's that kind of a talk. What did I first mention? I mentioned sexual reproductive organs and excrement, okay? Bodily functions, which are
Find
meant.
that vile.
Okay, so why it's vile is not something that I think I am able to fully explain to someone.
No one's
like
asking
yourself,
you to.
Okay, so
What you're being asked
it
is to
is
recognize
no,
that
no,
what you
it
find
is.
vile.
I'm trying to explain.
No,
It is.
There's no
No,
explanation
no,
needed if you
you're
would listen.
talking over
It's
me again.
subjective. Yes, because I'm
Right.
correcting
So
you. It is subjective.
you tell me when I come into this room, we try not to talk over each other, but that's all you ever want to
Unless
do.
you are incorrect or misrepresenting a
Oh,
point.
well, you're incorrect, so
You
I'm
are
just going to endlessly talk over
misrepresenting
you
a point.
because you're misrepresenting
You are
things, and so I'm going to constantly talk
So
over you.
NephilimFree is now minimized. He's harder to hear. What Neff is not understanding right now, Neff, please stop talking. Please stop talking, Neff.
See?
You'll have your turn on mic, Neff.
No, I don't
You're just
want
being,
one.
you're uncomfortable
I
with
don't
being
have no
interrupted
interest.
right now.
No, you just
Neff,
can't play
you're
honestly.
Neff,
so
you're causing a disruption right now.
No, you're
Please
proving
stop.
atheists can't be honest
Please
enough to run a
stop,
lab.
or I will have to take administrative action if you do not respect the room rules. I am the room owner. I understand you want to get
Being
your
a
point.
hypocrite,
I
don't
will use moderation against you. Please allow me to get this out so that we can move on and stop filibustering.
You're just being a hypocrite.
Listen, listen. Yeah, good. Fuck you.
Well, that actually lasted a lot longer than I expected.
What a
Yeah, I don't know
child.
why you were